Welcome to episode number 5 of Play On with myself, Aisling O'Reilly, brought to you by Sportstalks.ie. In this episode, we're coming to you from the Canal Court in Uri as we travel to the north of Ireland to the home of the Orchard County to chat with ace attacker, sharpshooter and all-star winner Aimee Makin. And also chatting with me is 3-time All-Star, 2002 All-Ireland winner and Armagh legend Stephen McDonnell. You're both very welcome.
Thanks, Aisling. How are you?
Good now, not bad. So we're here in the Canal Court, Stephen. Would this have been somewhere you'd ever got a few nights out in?
Plenty of nights out in here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
No, can't go into too much detail now, but it was a good hunting spot back in the day now.
Yeah.
Still is.
Oh,
Still
really?
is.
Would you have came out here then, Aimee?
Yeah, we're out boxing night actually.
Oh, nice. And would this be more of a down venue for GA?
It would be mixed, so would, yeah.
Yeah.
You're very much in the heart of both Armagh and down here, so you are. So
Yeah.
any night you come in here, you could bump into some of your rivals, and many a night we did. Actually, I used to enjoy our Saturday night National League games against down in the marshes, which isn't too far away from here. And both sets of players would end up in the Canal Court.
Oh, right, yeah.
And pinting with each other later on in the evening, which is good fun.
Geez, no fighting now. You're all nice talk.
I'll keep the fighting for the pitch.
Happy days. And so what are you up to now, Stephen?
Well, now, thankfully I've stayed involved with the game since I've retired. I've got into a bit of coaching and management, and for my sins, I've got into a big job in Tyrone for the year ahead with Clonaux, so I'm going to be managing them.
Oh, happy days. So they a senior club down there?
They're a senior club, yeah. So, from the outside looking in, Tyrone club football is very, very competitive. And for me, I always have the impression that there's 6 or 7 teams can win the championship, and they would be one of those teams. So it would. So, it's a very competitive league and championship format. So it is, and it's something that I'm looking forward to get myself thrown into.
And would there be any of the Tyrone County lads on that team?
Yeah, well, Conor McAlliskey dropped off the panel not so long ago, actually, just before I was announced as the manager. Probably will work in my favour, I hope, anyway.
Yeah, you'll see more of them.
Yeah. Michael O'Neill would have played county football in the past. He's a goalkeeper with the team, so he is. And also Declan McClure, he's currently on the Tyrone senior panel at the minute, so he's coming back from an injury, so might take him a few weeks more to get back in the swing of things.
Happy days. You're kept busy anyway.
Kept busy, but listen, there's nothing like being involved in GA to keep you busy.
That's it, my God. And so for Bodie, as we bring it back just right to the start for you. So your club is Shane O'Neill's.
Yeah.
And you also, your brother Connor is playing, and Blochy and your sister. Yeah. So how did you get playing? Like, who influenced you when you were young growing up?
Well, we come from a complete sporting family, so my whole dad's side, basically, they're still all involved. My dad's uncle, he helped recreate the Shane O'Neill's club. My granny's still involved. So
your granny's still involved?
Yeah, she was at the AGM. She does wee bits about the club and stuff like that. It's actually our family used to host the AGMs and all in our shed that's in our yard at the minute such a load of stories. Yeah, swear to God. They used to do like fundraisers. We have a shed in our yard and they used to do club fundraisers and everything in there. So it's staying right back from my granny was, and we've just sort of kept that tradition going, and there's nothing else talked about in our house apart from Gaelic football.
Oh my God, I'd say. And what about your other brothers and sisters? Do they play as well, or?
I have 2 older sisters that don't play, no. I have a younger brother, he's on the Armagh under 20 panel now. They're actually playing today, so we're just heavily involved in the county. Wow.
And so would your mum and dad, they'd be at every game?
Yeah, they're actually away on up to me now to watch that game today. So
great,
they go to
place
most
media.
games. It's hard to get to them all, but they try their best.
Yeah, happy days. You need that, don't you, when you're younger, especially. If you don't have them bringing you around, sure, you won't get to the games. You would never be involved.
Sort of
maybe.
take it for granted what to do until you can start driving. You realise
yourself
how much they
realise,
do. Yeah.
And Stephen, for you then, how did you get influenced or involved?
Yeah, well, I suppose where I grew up, I was only about 200 yards from the local club, Clevie, and my childhood, we didn't have access, or there was no such thing as computer games back then. It was all, out and play about the football and play curbs and games that got there.
Yeah.
And the easiest option for us was to go down to the field and kick balls over the bar. And, from a very young age, that's what I was doing. I'm the youngest boy in a family of 4 kids. I've got a younger sister, all right, but my 2 elder brothers were heavily involved with football as well, and I suppose I just followed suit with them. And just led from one thing to the other. I've been playing football competitively for Clevie since I was 7. I'm actually, believe it or not, still playing football for Clevie.
You're still playing?
I'm still playing seconds football for Clevie I went from one end of the field to the other. I've been playing in goals for the last 3 seasons. So
Is that by choice or?
it was actually by accident. I came back to play 3 years ago, and I came back to play outfield, of course. But the goalkeeper actually pulled his hamstring in the warm up, and we had no other goalkeeper. And the manager asked me what to step in, and ever since then I've been playing most games.
So were you due to play that day or?
No, I was a sub. It was my first game back,
right.
so I was a sub.
Thrown right in.
Thrown right in. I was happy enough. At the end of the day, for me, being involved in the dressing room environment, having a bit of banter and crack, it's very much a fun environment. Yes, when you take to the field, it's competitive, and that competitive edge comes out in your game. But I just love the opportunity to continue to put on the jersey, and it worked in my favour for the last couple of years because I was involved with Burn Down, where they play their league games on a Friday night in Armagh. It's on a Sunday afternoon, so I was able to accommodate both. It'll probably be a wee bit more difficult in the year ahead because Tyrone football is on a Sunday as well. But listen, when I can get an opportunity to play and put on the goalkeeper jersey, I will. The goalkeeper jersey suits me. It's less running, of course.
So why would you not come outfield, do you not think?
Well, sometimes I play the sweeper keeper role. Yeah. So that's
you need to go to one of these games.
That's as far as it goes, and the odd time I would venture up for a free kick, and that's really as far as it goes.
Do you feel a pressure at all since obviously you have the name behind you?
No.
Going out now?
No,
it's
absolutely not. I actually did play one game outfield last year because we were low on numbers and I played at 6. So I would nearly play anywhere else apart from my normal position of corner forward nowadays. So it's just something that, throw yourself in somewhere else and find a new way of playing. And listen, even though I've turned 40 a few months ago, I still enjoy the thrill of playing Gaelic football. I feel I'm still able to run somewhat, so I'll keep playing.
Jeez, fair play to you. And for both of you then making your debut for Armagh, was that always the dream for you, Aimee?
Yeah, actually I was looking back on old school stuff, they ask you in primary school what's your goal, and mine was actually to play for Armagh. But I know the O2 panel, they would have been big role models for all of Armagh, and obviously Armagh ladies won the All-Ireland as well. So when you look to likes of people like them, you're seeing the jersey and it's just something you always wanted to do. And I remember it was James Daly actually was manager with Armagh, so he gave me my debut, and I think we won the league, Division 2 league that year. So
jeez,
yeah, it was.
Do you remember who you played against on your first game?
Oh, first league game. I think it was Leash or something like that. Yeah.
And you won the league in the first year you were playing.
Division 2
doing something right.
Beat Donegal. Yeah, it was actually a good day that day up in Parnell Park. I think we won well in the end by about 15 points or something.
And what age were you then?
I was 18. I just turned 18 actually before the league
final. That's young to be making a debut for the seniors.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the case in most ladies' teams though.
Nowadays, yeah, definitely. And so for you, Stephen, then, do you remember it?
I do. I believe it or not, I've got a good memory when it comes to football games. I can remember almost every game I played in terms of particularly county football. But I came into the county scene at a very lucky time in 1989. That was my first season, and I remember the likes of Martin McQuillan and Neil Smith had retired in January 99, and they played maybe 16, 17 years for the county and never won. Weren't lucky enough to win an Ulster title even though they were in good teams. I came in and within 6 months I had an Ulster title, and even though I came in January 99, I didn't play any football throughout that whole season. I was a sub on the team. Meath ended up beating us in the All-Ireland semi-final.
Hey.
But my debut came, believe it or not, in a challenge game against Meath. And back in those days, Sean Boylan was over Meath, and a great man. I would have played under Sean with the international rules. And Brian McAlinton and Brian Canavan were the Armagh managers. And before a season kicked off, both teams used to love playing each other for a good physical hard battle, and there used to always be plenty of rows and fights in those games. But this particular challenge game, we travelled to Park Talchin up in Navan, and I was thrown in the corner forward, and my introduction to county football was Cormac Murphy. I don't know if you know him.
I recognise the name.
Yeah, Cormac was a tough tick.
So it was a lot of Meath back then.
So the first ball I went for, I got the studs down the back of the calf, and that was my welcome to inter-county football. But games like that there certainly got you prepared for it, and I suppose the players that I was training with at that particular time, like Aimee Makin, Paul McGrain, McIntyre, big, strong, physical players. You know, you had to get used to taking knocks and bruises like that. So it was my welcome to it. But yeah, it was a great introduction. All right.
Did you score anything that day? Go on.
I can't remember that particular day, but my league debut I scored 3 points.
Oh, jeez, nice. And so obviously the 2002 All-Ireland, it's a moment for all Armagh people, I'm sure you will never forget.
Yeah.
Do people still come up to you now and mention it to you? And
They do. They come up to you now and say you should have won more, which we know.
God, one wasn't
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. Listen, unfortunately, it's too long ago now. It was 18 years ago now, which
mad,
is
isn't
hard to believe. And it doesn't feel that long ago, but that's the way it is. We were fortunate. I said, listen, I came in '99, and for a 10-year spell, we had a lot of success in Armagh, where many players in previous teams didn't have the success that we got to. And 2002 was a fantastic journey. So it was believe it or not, we got to the final in 2003 and semi-final in 2005, and I would actually say that those two teams were better than the 02 team. But we missed out, unfortunately, by a point or two in a couple of games where we could have won just as easy. And the journey for 2002, Joe Kiernan coming in and probably instilling a wee bit of extra belief and confidence in the players, and we just were very confident that whole season that we were going to win the All-Ireland. Mm-hmm. Even though we had never won an All-Ireland before, we just had a gel and a bond as a group of players that we were going to do it, and nothing was going to get in our way, and that's the way it was. And I know I said that people say you should have won more, and we probably should have won more, but I'm forever grateful for the one that I got.
Big time. It was the year after that you got again to the All-Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went back. To win back-to-back All-Irelands back then was extremely tough, and we were probably the closest thing in about 20 years to go and do it. And it's just unfortunate we played against a very hungry and driven their own team that were going for their first. I suppose they got a lot of belief out of watching us do it the year before, and it was a game that I would love to turn the clock back on, because we didn't perform. We just simply did not perform, even though we played a lot better throughout the whole 2003 campaign. That was the one game where we didn't perform, and we probably let ourselves down. But as I said, when you've got a hunger and a desire to kick on and win it, you have to take your hats off the throne and say fair play to them. They deserve to win it, which they did.
Yeah.
But it was a ridiculous journey that we went on for that couple of years in terms of getting to All-Ireland finals and getting to semi-finals, where we weren't really getting that far in the championship in the years previous
before.
To that.
So it was such a big moment for the Armagh people. And I'm sure, Aimee, I don't know, what age would you have been, 6 or 7?
Six or seven, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get to the game now. The rest of my family did, so we were left at home. But I remember shortly after it, a few weeks after it, me and my brother and my dad always going down to the pitch and recreating Aimee Makin's goal.
So
Paul, my daddy would have acted as Paul McGrain, and he would have knocked it down, and me and Connor would have took it in turns being Aimee Makin.
No way.
And the running celebrating behind the goal. we did it exactly to the team.
Yeah.
But
I would say you probably connected with the ball better than Aimee would have.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it with my right foot. I could do it with my left foot.
Oh my God. Well, that's what it's about, probably, because then I suppose that instilled the belief to all the younger people coming through then that, geez, because I don't think you can believe you can do it until you see it nearly being done.
There's no doubt that it inspired a generation of footballers for Armagh, both male and female, and being the first senior team in Armagh to go and win an All-Ireland. Only 2 years later we won an under-21 All-Ireland, and 7 years later we won a minor All-Ireland.
And that was that in a good, had that happened before?
That was the very first under-21 All-Ireland we ever won.
So
we had won a minor All-Ireland, but it was back in the 40s or 50s. So, it definitely inspired a group of players to try to emulate what our squad of players went and achieved. So it was good from that point of view. The disappointing thing is that, while we had a serious 10-year spell of success where we won National League titles, 7 Ulsters, All-Irelands and multiple All-Stars amongst the group of players, we haven't been back at an Ulster final since 2008, and that's something that I would like to see the senior team, particularly this year, turn around and get back competing at that level again.
And Kieran McGeeney, he was your captain in 2002, and obviously he's the manager now at the minute. What do you make of the setup now, or are you hopeful with the
Absolutely,
panel?
yeah. There's a core group of players that are very exciting to watch. They play a super brand of football, and you know, I love to see a team that, you know, has the attitude to go out and to outscore their opponents, and Armagh certainly have that at the minute. There are aspects of their game that they need to brushing up and tighten up on, like any team out there, you know, and Kieran knows of that, as do the rest of his management team. But, you know, when you look back at last year, they pushed Mayo very, very close, and possibly could have got a result over McHale Park. And therefore, you know, I've read a couple of articles this year already, particularly with Ryan and Oisin O'Neill coming out and saying that, you know, it's success that they want. And I like to read about players talking about success, because I think the more to have that mindset, it filters through to on the field of play as well. And they are two very confident players that, you know, have the capability of going and performing on the big day. You know, Armagh have an abundance of talent. Jamie Clark, Charlie Oak Burns, there's some super talent in Armagh, and I would be very, very hopeful that we can push teams in Ulster close to maybe getting to an Ulster final again. And until Armagh can get back to that stage and competing against the very best, that's when they maybe can turn their fortunes around again.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously for you, Aimee, you're coming into your 6th year now on the Armagh panel. You're probably one of the more experienced ones on the panel, but still a young one at the same time.
Probably in between that sort of stage of being more experienced. And we have a lot of young ones now coming into the panel this year. I obviously still have the likes of Caroline O'Hanlon, who is what everyone aspires to be in Armagh county football. So you've still got the experienced heads, but I'd probably be counted as one of the experienced ones.
Yeah, oh no, definitely. And it's just mad to think that you're coming into your 6th year, but you've never played in Croke Park yet.
No, never. Well, hopefully in the future we'll get there. But it'll take a lot now. You have to get to either an All-Ireland semi-final, which is tough. No matter what code you're playing. But hopefully we're quietly confident that it's somewhere we can achieve, and that's what we're training hard for. And
you have an ACL injury at the minute yourself.
Yes,
I'm sure mentally it's probably tough to try and get yourself back fit and just keep positive. And
I'm still at the early stages now. At the minute now, I'm still involved with the county. Actually, I was a stats person for one of the games, so I'm still involved, and I would not be involved at the same time. I'd find it harder probably watching when you're not sort of in with most of the group of girls that are there are my friends, so it's better being involved than not being involved, and hopefully it'll not be too long till I'm back now.
Exactly, back before you know it.
Yeah.
And Stephen hearing a stat like 6 years with the county panel but having never played in Croke Park, does that shock you?
It does. I would have thought that a talented player like Aimee would have had that opportunity before now, but and certainly, you know, to showcase our skills in front of the whole of the country, it'd be great to see Aimee Makin playing in Croke Park, as with all of our teammates with the county. But sometimes, you know, you dream about playing in Croke Park, and I was no different. I dreamt all my career about playing in Croke Park, and when that opportunity came, you know, it came like I suppose the rain comes here in Ireland, and it came often enough then, you know. So maybe when you do get the chance to play once, Aimee, you'll play out there often enough. So it's my first experience of Croke Park. If you can learn anything from this, I was taken off in an All-Ireland semi-final because I thought too much about Croke Park. I you know, it was the occasion got to me. I fulfilled a lifelong dream of playing there, and I forgot about the game. So I did. So, you know, play the game. You know, my advice to anybody going into playing Croke Park for the first time: play the game. Forget about where you're playing. It's the exact same as your own club pitch. It's the same. You've got two posts to kick the ball over the bar into, more or less the same size. You know, maybe probably slightly bigger. Yes, you've got the crowd around you and all, but just go and play the game first and foremost, and forget about the occasion, and then you'll perform a lot better. And from I learnt after that game, you know, I felt that I always went in and performed a lot better in Croke Park.
Brilliant. No, that's good advice. I'm sure that happened to a lot of players coming out. They probably just got overwhelmed by the situation and the occasion that it was. Yeah, well, a wee story just before. You know, it was before the All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry in 2000, and I was rooming with Cathal O'Rourke, who would have been a senior figure and a mentor to me in my early years with Armagh. And the night before, he knew I was thinking too much about the fact that I was going to play in Croke Park. I just turned around and said to him, Cal,
what's it like to play in Croke Park? And he knew that I was distracted by that fact and not concentrating on the game. And it turned out that I was taken off, and I ended up getting dropped for a replay, which, you know, was a huge, I suppose, hurt for me, a huge burden to take. But, you know, I ended up coming on and getting a couple of points in the replay. But, you know, I played the match that day and not the occasion.
And what was it? Just the nerves just got to you?
Nerves got to you, yeah. You know, when you go into Croke Park for the first time, you're looking around at this big stadium, the big stands, and you're in awe, and you're doing your parade, and you're looking into the crowd, and you're forgetting about your primary role, which is go and perform, go and play. You know, you've trained from such a young age to get yourself ready for and primed for that occasion. And maybe I was a wee bit overawed, but, you know, one game out of probably about 30 or 40 games and playing at Croke Park, I was taken off, so it's not a bad record.
Yeah.
And what age were you then?
I was 19. Yeah.
When you made your debut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was young enough. I got the chance to play in Croke Park young enough. But as I say, listen, there was Armagh teams before me. I came in at the right time. I came in with a team that had serious success, a serious drive to be successful. And I was just a part of that jigsaw, so it was. And as I said, you know, the players who played before me didn't have that opportunity to play in Croke Park often enough, and we just were fortunate enough that we were a seriously driven group of players that had nothing but success on our minds, that we kept getting back there.
So Aimee, you're not only just a talented Gaelic footballer, you're also a talented soccer player. Yeah,
well, I tried to, before I actually started to play with Armagh, I got offered a scholarship to go to America, a university in Tennessee. That was a full scholarship. They paid for everything, and I was playing soccer for the university too.
Yeah.
At that time, it was sort of, I remember that summer is when I sort of had to decide on what I was doing, because Armagh started the pre-season sort of October. But I was forgoing. I was booked on. I was going, and it was set. A few meetings and phone calls from James Daly, and sort of in the back of my head, it was always that I wanted to play with Armagh anyway, but it was just, you're that young, you didn't know what to do, you had opportunities.
And James,
to go.
is he the manager of the Armagh team then?
Yeah, he was the manager of the Armagh ladies at that stage. So then I decided that was it. I was going to stay at home. It was sort of a last minute decision. Don't know if the university in America were too happy or whatever, but that's the way it worked out. And
what age were you then?
I was 18.
18,
yes.
And so you were ready to go, you were thinking,
Yeah,
America.
I was it. I done my, I think it's SATs or something. Their exams. I done them up in Dublin and stuff like that, so I had to do specific exams to get in for the grades to sort of transfer over to an American university and that. So I'd passed all them, and I was forgoing. But
what did he say to you?
I think he just brought it back to what I always wanted to do anyway, was to play for Armagh. I think the year before that I started in the county, but I was still playing minor football, and I decided earlier on in that year that I was just going to stick at minors. I wasn't going to go to the senior panel.
Yeah.
So I just stuck at minors that year, and then coming into the next year when he had mentioned it, it was just like something I always wanted to do was to play for Armagh, and I knew then when I'd made the decision it was the right one. And
so no regrets looking back now?
No, obviously there's that video that's like what it would have been like, and I know girls that went out that I played soccer with Northern Ireland who had went out to universities, and like it looked like they had a ball, but when I look at it, it's not something I seen myself doing actually in the end of it. And
when you're making the decision to go in the first place, before the phone calls and everything, what were your parents like? Did your mum and dad want you to go, or?
No, they were sort of like, no, stay at home. But they'd never fully say that, because they're obviously open to whatever. It's your decision. But when I'm looking back now, I would struggle making that decision now that I'm 23. Never mind when you're 18. It's such a big call, because you're so far away from home. And we're a pretty close family. So like Christmas and big things like that, big occasions, we're all quite kind of close. And even stuff like my older brother getting on the Armagh panel, it was, you know, like a family day out. It was an achievement. It's something. And when you think back of missing them sort of things, it's like putting two and two together. It's what I would have missed more, whether.
So you're a bit of a home bird then.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
And so also then you're playing now at the minute, just so you're not going back to the soccer then. I know you're injured at the moment.
Yeah, so after my injury, I'm just going to stick to the one. I think it's too much going back to do the two, so I'll stick to the Gaelic, and that was always my main focus anyway. I played a bit of soccer, but it was never a priority. I wouldn't have took it over the Gaelic or that. But when I go back, I don't think there's any point in risking doing too much. So I'm going to take it as it comes and play club football first and see how I get on, and then.
Good stuff. And say for yourself then, you're obviously known for your little dummies and your trusty left boot, the two of yous. Is there a technique that you might have worked on, or is it just natural, or is there something that young players can work on? I
think it's something young players can work on. I know when I was a child, that's all I ever done. My dad would say any evening I was just outside playing with my brother, playing with his friends and stuff like that. But it's something like I probably would have took I would have been always watching football, so I think that's a key area too, always watching to see what the likes of the top boys or girls are doing, and I would have took advice on what looks like, what's working and what's not working. So I think the key is sort of just working on it, working hard on what to do, and again it's sort of natural as well, some of the instinct as well, but yeah, I try to do a wee jink here and there. Yeah. Did I hear that you'd be known to go and get a bag of balls and just go out to the pitch on your own and just practice away yourself? Yeah, most times I would. I have the keys to our club, so I'd just go down any day of the week. So, but we had footballs all the time at home. Every Christmas so I got a football. But yeah, most evenings, whether it was out breaking windows of the house or whatever, we just done it all the time. Even in our kitchen floor was turned into a football pitch sometimes as well. There's enough use anyway. I know, yeah. And Stephen, going back to the techniques on the dummies and that, was it something that you did work on, or was it a natural thing to you? You have to do some kind of work on it. I think probably when you're younger, it's getting into the habit of a lot of young players tend to turn on to the side which is their stronger foot. If you can get into the habit of turning on to your weaker side, it encourages you to use that weaker foot a wee bit more often. And when you're using it a wee bit more often in competitive games, then you're going to improve it. And what I would always say to any kid looking to improve the weaker side in training, particularly, don't be afraid to make a balls of it. You know, it's the reason why you're there in training is to try to improve on weaknesses and try to get better as a player. And you know, don't be afraid to make any mistake, even in a game. You know, try something different. Don't be afraid to be different than the other players. You know, too often we see too many robotic players nowadays that are athletes and you know, they are given a position in a team because they've got a great ability to run. You know, I'd rather see somebody with a great brain that can use their footballing brain to more effect than what somebody can do in terms of running. And what I would say is, you know, get into the habit of turning on to your weaker side more often, because that encourages you to use the weaker side, weaker foot, a wee bit more in games and in competitive action. Yeah, definitely. And the Australian rules was obviously a big time for you. You did 6 seasons? 6 campaigns, yeah. 11 games. I missed 1 game due to an injury, but it was probably the only game I ever missed in my career due to injury. So it was, but God, yeah, you're lucky. Yeah, I was lucky enough. I got through unscathed. I picked up a few injuries, but nothing ever too serious to be able to keep me out of a game. But 6 different campaigns with the international rules and great experiences. 3 in Ireland and 3 in Australia, and yeah, getting the opportunity to play alongside players that you're very competitive with throughout the season was a great chance to make friends, to make new, I suppose, to make new friends throughout the country and to become more recognisable in my own way as well. You played against one of my favourite players growing up, Graham Geraghty. You played up front with him, didn't you? Played with him, yeah. One particular campaign, the 2006 one, probably one of the most feisty international series overall. You know, when I look at the 3 times I played, the 3 series I played in Ireland, one of the best games and atmospheres I played in was in Salt Hill in Galway, believe it or not. It was the crowd was on top of the pitch, and you could hear every movement and roar from them, and we ended up beating Australia that particular day by a last minute goal. And obviously they weren't too happy about that, so the following week the second test was in Croke Park, and they came out all guns blazing, not with the attitude to play football, but with the attitude to fight and to try to intimidate and bully
Ireland, which probably to an extent they achieved. But that particular day, myself and Graham were up front. We were the two-man full forward line, and early on in that game, he got slammed to the ground. He almost picked up a very serious neck injury, and it wasn't within the rules of sport what they went out
they came
to,
out
to
fighting
do.
that day, didn't
they came out fighting. It literally was fighting, and I remember Kieran McGeeney was the captain at that particular time. And I remember an interview with him afterwards. He said, he came out and he was honest in his assessment. He said, if you want to play football, we'll play football. If you want to fight, we'll fight. Just tell us in advance. Yeah. And he was right. But Kieran was always well able to handle himself, and still to this day he does jiu-jitsu, so he does. So he's still well able to handle himself. But I remember one Australian guy in that particular test got Kieran in a headlock and tried to intimidate Kieran. And you're not going to do that to Kieran McGeeney, so you're not. Kieran ended up turning him over, and the boy, what you see in the octagon nowadays, he tapped out. So he did. He was tapping out. He was struggling for a breath, but that was the physicality that Kieran McGeeney had back then. He wasn't taking no BS from anyone, so he wasn't on. But the Australian player that was on the wrong end of things from Kieran when he tried to start it. Yeah, he didn't know who he was messing with. But that was one incident. There's many incidents in that particular game.
It turned into a brawl.
It was a brawl. There was not much football played in the four quarters. Benny Coulter got taken out with a seriously dirty hit in the first quarter of that game. I remember I mentioned it to you earlier on. The last quarter, myself and the man that I was marking, we had a hold of each other by the scruff of the neck, and we were, I suppose, hitting jabs to the chin with each other. So we were, but nobody was giving an inch. And while we were doing that, the ball just went past us, and we had no interest in getting the ball.
Just roll by.
It was a case that you can't stand down to them. That particular season, actually, believe it or not, Kieran Donaghy made his debut as well, and that was probably Kieran Donaghy's breakthrough season in Ireland as well. So he built up a reputation for himself, and myself and Kieran in the Galway game were inside, and the Aussies picked up. There was 2 or 3 Aussies went in and hit him shoulders and got a hold of him.
Kieran Donaghy in the side.
Kieran Donaghy and Kieran didn't know what to expect. It was his very first experience of internationals. I'd been there a couple of years. I went over and hit one of them an uppercut, and that was it. that was it sorted out. So it was, and I suppose the one thing I learned from playing that game, if you let them walk over the top of you, they'll do it all day long. But if you stand your ground with them, it won't be too long in playing football then.
Yeah. And I'm sure after 6 seasons you really learned that.
Yeah, you've got to learn it. I didn't learn it just there. I learned it, as I said, with the tough physical training sessions that I had with the Armagh team at that particular time. There was no inch given, and you had to learn. I was one of the smallest players in the team, very skinny and scrawny when I first came into the Armagh setup, so I had to learn to play dirty or not play at all, and that's what I had to do.
And you were telling me there, I'd be a Celtic fan. We mentioned it. And you were telling me that on one of your first years at Armagh, you went training in Celtic Park.
Yeah, not in Celtic Park, in Celtic's training facilities.
Okay.
But Martin O'Neill, obviously going back to his GA roots, was the manager of Celtic at that particular time, and he was a good mate of one of our co-managers, Brian McLinden. And Brian set up a training camp. This was before the whole Manga training camps. We ended up going to Glasgow for training, a few days training. So what he done was we got access to Celtic's training ground. We went there for 2 or 3 days training and met Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill gave us a tour of Celtic Park and all, and it was my first year. I was loving it all, so it was. But Henrik Larsson was the big name in Celtic, probably in Scottish football at that particular time, and he was one of the very few players that we got to meet walking around Celtic Park randomly. So it was a good experience.
That's amazing. And Aimee, then the 2020 campaign. So obviously this year we're in 2020, and it's 20% more media coverage for women's sports. Do you feel that there's been a bit of a difference now since the campaign has launched? Yeah,
definitely. I think even last year there was big strides made with the opportunity for the All-Ireland semi-finals to be played in Croke Park, and I think every year it's progressively getting better, and hopefully it'll continue, more games in Croke Park or more media coverage, but it's definitely improving. And even from I started in 2015, there's a lot more talk about it, even from like some male athletes, there's a lot more collaboration with the men's teams and the girls' teams.
Yeah, you see the double headers and all happening now, and you never would have seen that before.
No.
Say when you started back your 6th season now, what was it like when you're getting like messages maybe for training? Were the pitches in good nick, or
this year or previously?
When you started out
when
to
I started,
what it's like now? Would you be getting dinner after games or
at the start?
Or training?
Not really, but now it's a necessity. Like it happens all the time. At the start, it would have been just beginning to come into that stage, but no, definitely now it's just that's all part of it. You know, you don't even think twice about them things anymore. So, which is obviously huge strides, but I think there's still more to go now.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think I noticed, that you used to be waiting for a text, you wouldn't know what pitch you were going to.
Yeah.
Or
at the start you would have got them sort of situations because there would have been clubs maybe last minute cancellations and stuff like that. But now it's totally different.
Yeah,
like
it's all changing, definitely. And then also for yourself, I'll ask you a few questions then. So for yourself, Stephen, what's the best memory of playing your football?
Best memory?
Go be club or county.
Listen, probably the successes I had on the pitch and the friendships I made with both club and county. I retired at a time where I wanted to achieve something with my club, and within a few months I won an intermediate championship. So that was a very happy moment for me in my playing career. I was lucky that I went through a career that was very successful in terms of silverware, but I the one thing I suppose for me now that I have retired and looking back is that I've gained friendships. I can hold my head up high and say that I've made a lot of friends. I believe I played football in the right manner, so I've made a lot of friendships through the teams that I played with and represented, and that's the big thing for me.
That's what it's about, isn't it? And Aimee, for yourself?
I'd probably be near enough the same. Obviously it's the friendships you make along the way from county and then or other county players as well, but a big moment for me was probably with the club when we won the intermediate club championship, Ulster championship, and then playing in Parnell Park in the All-Ireland final with our club was a big day out. Just seeing green and white in Parnell Park and Shane O'Neill's written in Parnell Park was a big moment for our club, so that was definitely a big moment. And I think just the first time putting on the county jersey was obviously one of the top moments as well.
And I have a hard question here just when you said that then. If you could choose between an All-Ireland for your club, you can only have one, an All-Ireland for your club or an All-Ireland for your county. So tough.
I don't think you could
choose.
ask that question, to be honest. Listen,
speech just now, Stephen.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a very easy answer for me because I've achieved it at county. I would definitely take it all day long at club now. All day long. I'd love to see that type of success for Clevie.
I think because I haven't achieved it with county, it's very hard because county is like such a step up and playing in Croke Park and stuff like that. But to do it with your club where the whole village and everything started and your family, your roots, everything's involved in it would be
special.
Like when you look at Slaughtneil and stuff doing what they're doing, and just think it'd be very special.
And the Tier 2 Championship, what's your views on this, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm not particularly a fan of it at all. Regardless of what level a county team is at, there's players within each squad, I'm sure, have aspirations of competing for and trying to achieve the ultimate, which is winning the Sam Maguire. Even the fact that you're playing in that competition for the Sam Maguire is an achievement in itself. And I just don't like the thought of a secondary competition, so I don't, growing up, Armagh weren't successful, but,
you got there.
We got there in the end. And that's the same message for any county. 5 years before we won All Ireland, Armagh was probably at an all-time low.
Yeah.
But because of a group of players came along that were seriously driven and had the desire to be successful, it pulled things together as well as getting good management structures in place as well. And that can be achieved by any county, so it can. Absolutely can be achieved by any county. Armagh are by no means the biggest county out there, so actually one of the smallest, if any. So it can be achieved if the right systems are put in place, if the right group of players come together and the right management structures are in place. So I believe that, I'm not a fan one bit. I would actually nearly prefer to go back to the old knockout style championship format as well.
Yeah.
So I just think that was the bread and butter of playing championship football at a particular time. But listen, there's tweaks and changes that's going to happen. Tier 2 isn't one for me.
And then the likes of the McKenna Cup we see at the minute, the O'Byrne Cup. Is there a point in it at all happening before Christmas?
It was never top of my priority list when I was playing. So it wasn't, yes, you played the games to play games because you wanted to play as many games of football as possible, but I'd rather see probably more competitive league action at this time of year than playing in a McKenna Cup that, you know, ultimately at the end of it all, you know, you don't look back in your career and say I won so many McKenna Cups. It just doesn't happen. So I think the pre-season tournaments is something that has had its time, and maybe look to the future and try to restructure national leagues in some way.
And then the other question of the changes going on at the minute, the mark that's came in. Obviously, if that was in your day, you know, it would have been a different type of game for you.
Yeah, and my mindset would have been differently as well. You know, I would have been thinking, as an inside forward, you've always got to keep your defender thinking anyway. You know, you've got to maybe turn left once and then turn right the next time, take them on, lay it off. You've always got to keep your man on your toes. But the inside mark is an easy way out for inside forwards nowadays. And while it's a brilliant skill in the international rules, I'm not a fan of it in their own game. You know, I'd rather see the fast pace being played, you know, a ball being delivered into the inside man. You know, a player that I respected and loved watching when I was growing up was Mickey Linden, and what witness in what he done, receiving the ball on the turn, taking his man on, kicking the ball over the bar. That's what we want to see in our game. You know, you don't want to see a player, you know, making an easy catch, and that's what it is. It's an easy catch, and having 15 seconds to kick a ball over the bar. That's an easy way out, and probably for players who aren't used to scoring that much, it'll probably up their scoring ratio as well. So I would rather see the mark done away with in our own game. Keep it to a fast pace.
Yes, I definitely agree. And so, Aimee, for yourself, what's the dream?
The dream, the immediate dream is just to get back playing football as soon as possible. But obviously, to get back playing for a club and county is massive. And I know when I'm watching friendlies now, it's hard to watch. So that's the immediate dream. But obviously, again, is to win more with club and win more with county. I think the last 2 years we've been beating Ulster finals, and that's definitely a big one that we want to get our hands on.
So the hope will be playing Croke Park, win the All Ireland.
Yeah, that's it. Game. I'll take an Ulster final first and then hopefully go on further.
See what happens from that, definitely. And so, Stephen, for yourself, do you have any regrets looking back now?
Not really. No, I've been fortunate enough.
Yeah.
You know, you take your successes on the chin, you take your losses on the chin, you move on. Probably the biggest regret is getting blocked by Conor Gormley. That's about it. All Ireland final 2003.
Oh, God.
But that's listen.
Oh, I watched that. Sorry, I watched that actually. Yesterday.
Oh, you just yesterday? Didn't stick in your mind.
No.
No, listen. Any serious regrets? No. You know, I had a good career. So no.
As you said, you
regrets.
came into the Armagh team maybe at the best time, and I know you obviously had a big influence yourself, but you know you had the likes of Kieran McGeeney, and what was it like playing with Oisin McConville?
Yeah, Oisin, you know, people ask me who was the best player you played alongside. For me, there was three, and very hard to pick them out. There were three for three different reasons. Oisin was one of them, Paul McGrain and Kieran McGeeney. Oisin was the man who you wanted to have his hands on the ball when you really needed a pressure score. He seemed to come up with big scores at big moments in games, and you know, pressure didn't faze him one bit, and he was a brilliant player to play alongside. You know, he was a scorer. He thought the way a forward should think. You know, his primary responsibility is to score. You know, for me, if you're wearing 10 to 15, your job is to score. You know, forget about the defending aspect of things. First and foremost, you've got to do it. But when you get the ball turned over, you got to get up the field to score. And Oisin always thought that way. And
did you just have go crack together? You must have had some bonding weekends. And
we had brilliant times together. A lot of people from the outside looking in always said that the team was too serious, but from within the group we had some great times. So we always used to be sitting in the bus going to championship games, looking out and saying, "Wish the fuck it was out there." But at the end of the day, the grass is always greener. You know.
And so, Aimee, would you have any questions for Stephen?
Just advice really on injuries, and I know you were saying you were fortunate enough you didn't have injuries,
but I suppose do what the medics tell you to do. You know, I played alongside Ronan Clark, and he probably, you know, while he was doing his rehab, he probably done his own thing as well, which cut his career short. So I would always say just do what the medics advise you to do. They're the professionals. Get yourself back playing. Enjoy playing football. You're very young yet. You know, you'll have many good days, hopefully in Croke Park, and just continue to enjoy playing football. Play with a smile on your face. We, as people within Armagh, we all love watching Aimee Makin play. Fantastically skilled player, and you know, keep playing with a smile on your face, and you'll make plenty of people watching you smile as well.
Brilliant, there you are. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
No bother.
No
Thank
problem
you.
at all. Thank you.